Have you ever wondered how we could possibly know the secrets of people who lived 1,000 years ago? People who left behind no written records, no diaries, nothing. Well, it turns out the clues are all around us. They're written into the very earth we walk on and even inside our own bones. So let's get into it. We're going to see how modern science has basically become the ultimate cold case detective. It's using these incredible tools to read stories that we all thought were lost to time. We're going to look at two really fascinating cases, one high up in the Alps and another on the icy coasts of Greenland, where science has completely flipped what we thought we knew about the past. But before you solve any mystery, you need the right tools. And the tools we're talking about today aren't magnifying glasses or fingerprint dust. Nope, these are coming straight out of a high-tech chemistry and geology lab. First up is something called stable isotope analysis. Now, the coolest way to think about this is like a chemical diary. Your bones literally keep a permanent record of what you eat, and, this is the crucial part, the water you drink. See, different water sources, like a river in a valley versus meltwater from a glacier, have unique chemical fingerprints. So by analyzing these isotopes in a skeleton, scientists can tell exactly what kind of water someone was drinking, which can pinpoint where they lived, even down to the specific altitude. Our second tool is isostatic depression. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the idea is actually really simple. Just imagine putting a heavy bowling ball on a trampoline. The surface sinks down, right? Well, the Earth's crust does the exact same thing. A giant ice sheet that's miles thick is unbelievably heavy, and it can literally push the land down, completely changing the shape of the coastline. All right, we've got our scientific toolkit. Let's put it to work on our first case. For this, we are heading to a medieval community in the absolutely breathtaking, but also pretty imposing Austrian Alps. Our story starts right here, in the village of Vulders. It's tucked into this narrow valley where flats, farmable land was, to put it mildly, an incredibly rare and precious thing. So here's the puzzle. This valley was not exactly a farmer's dream. It was swampy, it flooded all the time. So how on earth could a whole community manage to survive here, let alone actually thrive, for hundreds of years? The answer, amazingly, wasn't found in some dusty old book. It was written directly into the teeth of the very people who lived there. By analyzing the chemical makeup of their bones and teeth, scientists found the secret to how they made it all work. And this is where that first tool comes in big time. Stable isotope analysis of the skeletons from Vulders showed something really startling. The oxygen isotope signature, that chemical fingerprint for water we talked about, was extremely low in a lot of them. That's the telltale sign that their drinking water didn't come from the valley floor. It came from high-altitude sources, like glacial melt. These people were spending a lot of their time way, way up in the mountain. And boom, that reveals their brilliant solution. Transhumance. They worked out this perfect rhythm with the mountains. In the summer, they'd move all their livestock up to these high alpine pastures to graze. Then, in the winter, they'd come back down to the valley where it was more sheltered. They didn't just conquer the mountains, they figured out how to live with them. Okay, let's jump to our next case, which tackles an even bigger, probably more famous mystery. What really happened to the Vikings in Greenland? Now, for years, the accepted story was that a mini ice age hit, making farming impossible, and then their main export, walrus ivory, became obsolete. But new research is pointing to a much more immediate and, frankly, surprising culprit. The water wasn't just getting colder, it was rising. Now, hold on a second. That sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? More ice should lock up more water, meaning sea levels go down. Well, this is where our second tool, isostatic depression, comes in and reveals a truly mind-bending geological truth. So here's how this crazy paradox works. As the nearby ice sheet got bigger and heavier, its colossal weight literally pushed the land down. At the exact same time, that enormous mass of ice had its own gravitational pull, and it started tugging the nearby ocean water towards it. So you've got sinking land and water being pulled in towards the coast. It was a devastating 1-2 punch. And we're not talking about a couple of inches here. Models estimate that over the time the Norse were there, the local sea level rose by as much as 3.3 meters. That is nearly 11 feet. Imagine watching your coastline shrink by 11 vertical feet. So, you see, the Norse were caught in this impossible environmental vice. The best land they had for their farms, right on the coast, was slowly being drowned. This constant flooding was a critical and, for a long time, totally overlooked factor that helps explain why they ultimately had no choice but to abandon Greenland. So, what do these two different stories, one from the high Alps, the other from the icy shores of Greenland, really tell us when we put them together? Well, they show us that history isn't just a static story found in old books. The Earth itself is keeping a detailed diary of everything that happens, written in chemical signatures and shifting land. What we've learned is that humans have always lived in a changing world, sometimes adapting cleverly, like the people of Volders, and other times being totally overwhelmed by forces they couldn't possibly understand, like the Norse in Greenland. And this leaves us with a final, really powerful thought. 1,000 years from now, when archaeologists and scientists look back at our time, what story will our bones and our altered landscapes tell them about how we lived? What mysteries are we creating right now for the detectives of the future?